What is the definition of my success? What's the definition of your success? How you see yourself growing and learning and developing as you go into this next stage of your life. Is it possible to continue to dream? Or do we use all that creative energy and imagination to think of what could possibly go wrong? So I've taken this break to doubt, to stress, to lean into my anxiety. See, I've always been a big dreamer, a person who gets inspired and intrigued by the possibilities of what could come next. And me and Joe are coming up on our 10-year anniversary. And there's something about 10 years that I think is kind of freaking me out. Not because I don't adore him and love him, but we as a society, we tend to judge ourselves in decades. Whether I'm turning 50 in 3 years or being married for 10 years, I go through this period of reflection and wondering, did I do enough? Did I do what I set out to do? So like when I met Joe, I was just coming off of divorce. I had dropped out of school when I was 21 years old. And I had this goal to go back to school, finish my bachelor's degree, and expand the business that I had created. I was teaching childbirth education classes in the form of hypnobirthing. I was a doula. I was also a waitress and a mom of twins. And I thought if I went back to school, one, I would feel like I had achieved something, that I could take all the doubt that people had placed on me when I was a kid for being dyslexic, and I could somehow metaphorically stomp on their graves, even though none of them were dead. But I could prove to people who didn't see me, who didn't believe in me, that one, I was worth the investment. One, I was worth the acknowledgement for my intelligence, my creativity, my ability to persevere. And then my mentor loved my poetry so much, really wanted me to apply for the MFA program. And that made me feel seen. It made me feel good. So I pursued it. I went for my MFA. I thought of the books I would write and the poetry I would write and the stages I would stand on. And every time I got a little close to it, I would lean in and listen to the people who doubted me. I would lean in and listen for all the people that thought this was a pipe dream, a ridiculous thing to be wasting my time on. And I believed them. So I leaned into helping other people find their creative voices. I leaned into helping other people create their creative vision, empowering others to pursue their dreams, to pursue the things that they really wanted to do. But I didn't know how to do that for myself. And I think that's why I leaned into creating this YouTube channel with Joe, because it's one of the things that I know that I need to work on. I need to not only pursue my own dreams, but to lead by example, lead by the ability to trust in my own voice, trust in the ability to be okay with it. You know, for me, it was, are you a good mom? Are you a good wife? That's what was valued in my home. That was what was valued by the people around me. You didn't leave the house unless you were going to make money. And if you're going to make money, you better make enough money to make it worth it. So I always had a standard of like, I shouldn't leave the house unless I was making at least $100. And I hopefully will do that in less than 4 hours. And then I'd come home. And now I have 2 kids ready to go off to college, live on campus, have their own lives. And I'm stuck wondering, where's my value if I put all my value in what I did at home? You know, I love to cook. I love to entertain. I love to take care of the people that I love. I love to give sound advice. I love to be thoughtful and inspiring to them, encouraging, empowering. But what's going to happen after they leave in September? And, you know, I'm a bit of a doomsday prepper, not necessarily believing that there's a doomsday that's going to come, but I am a disaster prepper. If there's a hurricane coming, I'm your girl. If there's a power outage, I'm your girl. If there's not enough funds in the bank account and we have to make a dinner for 4, I can make it happen. So I feel that this over worrying, this prepping for what's about to happen is my way of leaning into those emotions, those feelings. And I think a lot of women my age are struggling not only with the changes that are going on in their bodies, but also the changes in how they feel and connect with the world around them. Like, you are valuable despite the emptiness in your home. You're valuable despite the number of friends you have, or the amount of money you make, or the job title you have. We are set up in a way to say, oh, you're valuable if you do X, Y, and Z. The number of tears I've wasted on over dry turkey for Thanksgiving, or the cloth napkins that need to be perfectly ironed, the displays of food that need to be exactly shown off and photographed and enjoyed and praised. When I was a kid, my mom got me a signed copy of Martha Stewart's Entertaining. See, even as a small child, I loved fancy restaurants. I loved being able to sit at a table with silverware and stemmed glassware and a room that's filled with ambiance. I loved fancy moments. I loved being able to dress up and feel pretty. Even though the flip side of me was this tomboy who loved to run and loved to get in the dirt and loved to be tough and hard, willing to stand up for injustices in the moment in my head. But a nice dinner where everyone sits perfectly. And, perhaps that's coming from an old, waspy New England family where that is what was expected. You were praised for how well you sat. You're praised for how well you behaved. And I always knew how to behave at a dinner table. Stiff back, shoulders up, head high, proper placement of your fork and knife, where to put your water glass, how to use a butter knife. When I graduated high school, I got a KitchenAid stand mixer, which I still use almost 30 years later. What I baked and what I cooked gave me value, gave me a sense of pride, a sense of, I know that I do this really well. And we were taught that. We were taught how to behave, how to act, how to be seen and not heard. And now I'm in this phase of life where I want to be heard. I want to speak to the realities of what life is about, to dream with creativity rather than worry and anxiety. I create in the opposite sense of what I really am naturally good at, leaning into the things that I'm really horrible at. And me looking at myself in a video, making sure I do everything the right way, creates so much tension in me. I want to know what's next. I want to know what's possible. I want to know where I could possibly lead to when mothering becomes more part-time, when the obligations dissipate, and all of a sudden I'm left with more free time to pursue, or time to lean into my anxieties and stress. I'm not really sure which will happen. I'm not really sure if I'll be able to make an impact. And I think that's where the shift is. Like, if the shift is, can I make an impact? Then yes, I can. There's already people here that I've made an impact. I know that I've made an impact on my boys because they've turned into amazing young men. But what is the definition of my success? This next stage, this next phase in life, it's going to take a lot of energy, but it's going to take a lot of unpacking of old, limiting thoughts that I've held on to most of my life. And I'm sure you have plenty of old, limiting thoughts, challenging conversations, questions of how you're going to move forward now that everything is different. You can lean into your dreams, your imagination, your creativity, on what you really want in life, how you want to pursue your next goal. And know that it's not going to be easy. Know that it's going to be hard, but you are a part of a community of people all around you. It has this glimmer of hope still in their 40s and 50s and 60s. Those dreamers that want to explore the world around them with big, wide open eyes, with hope and imagination and trust in their own abilities, that if they just put one foot in front of the other, it can happen. Until next time, this is Dream With Us.